for you. They don't want you to win. Majority of people will just play by the rules. Okay, it feels really good. I'm glad it's good for you. No! You will never be able to be strong. It took me 19 years to figure this out, causing most of your social anxiety and depression. Enough with the depressing shit. Let's learn how to win. You will be able to implement in your life instantly. It is easy to be a brand new person, I can assure you. Brothers, today we are talking about a topic that is very close to heart, because this topic is what caused me to waste the first 19 years of my life and end up anxious, depressed, broke, sexless, unconfident, and unfulfilled. And everything I just stated there is also the same statistics of the average man in the US. So we have identified a problem. Now what angers me is that in 2.5 years, I went from sexless to having the woman of my dreams, purposeless to having the business of my dreams, unconfident to having 10 out of 10 confidence, anxious to having 0 social anxiety, and depressed to being ultimately fulfilled. And the reason it angers me that it took me 2.5 years is because every single man desires those things. And it is easy to get those things, yet very few have them. And so I look at this and I see that there is a problem. We all have the desire for something, we all have the ability to get it, but for some reason, we don't have it. And it is because the topic of this video, which is you are not supposed to win. I know my handwriting is trash, but I am not a woman and it is legible, so it's okay. And what I mean by you are not supposed to win is that the system that we live in is not designed for male success. It is designed for male weakness. Now, what is this system? So I'm gonna be very careful with my words here because I like this account and I want it to be around for a while. To put it simply, the system is the invisible structure shaping your beliefs, desires, and behaviors, right? It's the ads you see on TV. It's a filter on your Google searches determining what truths you're allowed to see. And most importantly is the culture you live in normalizing weakness, indulgence, and distraction. And if you are impressionable by this system, you will end up like all the stats I stated earlier. So why is the system like this? Well, you must realize that in order for the system to work, it must have control, money, and people supporting it. And in order for a system designed to keep men weak to prosper, it needs the men to be dependent on it, blind of it, and again, weak enough so they cannot escape it. It needs weak men. And because weak men are easier to control, because a weak man will not escape the things that are keeping him weak. Addictions, woman, fear. And if he cannot escape these things, he is dependent on the system for all the things that he loves, which is comfort. Number 2. Weak men are profitable. Specifically, sick men are profitable, and weak men are sick. Now, without getting into the nitty-gritty, the system has to have control of what people want, and what people want is money. And if the system controls what we believe and how we behave, then they will lead us to behaving in a way that makes them that money. Specifically, makes the most profitable global industry in the world money, which is healthcare. And number 3, weak men maintain the illusion. Now, when I was weak, when I was subject to my vices, smoking, drinking, scrolling, seeking comfort, if someone would have came up and told me, you should not be doing those things, I would have pushed them away because they challenged my comfort. They challenged my identity. They challenged what brought me temporary joy in life. And by pushing them away, I would be maintaining my own illusion, and I am a piece of the massive puzzle of the system. In addition, if I was weak, I would not have the spine, confidence, or knowledge to come up here and talk to you guys about this to help you escape the system. Meaning, I would maintain the illusion instead of help you escape it. Now, the reason the system works and so many people are the average stats I stated earlier is because most men are that. So first things first, I'm gonna break down specifically how they were able to get most men weak. And at the end, I'm gonna give you the actionable steps to escape it, which you will be able to implement in your life instantly and have the same transformation I had. So number 1 is gonna be education, specifically the school system. Now, the reason this is so important is because who is most impressionable? Children and adolescents. And so if you're able to impress the illusion upon children and adolescents, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for their entire childhood, then you are setting them to a life of weakness, right? I got okay grades, I got C's, B's, A's without really having to try. And throughout middle school and high school, I learned absolutely nothing that I actually use in my life today. In addition, I thought I had ADHD because I could not focus on anything in the classroom. My mom thought I had ADHD, my teachers thought I had ADHD, when in reality, I was just never taught anything I was interested in. I learned about dopamine, fixed my dopamine, and now I can focus on whatever I want as long as I want. And I was this close to taking a derivative of meth, aka Adderall, because I was not able to focus in class. I know way too many people taking this drug which spikes their dopamine 10x above baseline because they told their doctor they could not focus. One of which includes my girlfriend before we started dating, right? When we started dating, I immediately told her she has to get off that shit. She got off that shit and her life changed. And I don't have a PhD, I just wanted the best for her. So we spent our most impressionable years learning no life skills, having our creative spark dampened by being told you need to go X path, Y path, Z path, sentencing us to a life of average. Number 2, hypersexualization, specifically in our culture, right? This is the thing that once I freed myself from, my life started to change. If you guys know my story, you know the first thing I gave up and the first thing that changed my life was giving up lust. I was a chronic masturbator and porn watcher, and I would feel guilt after every time I watched it, and I would carry that out with me in public. Now, me feeling that guilt led me to look up on the internet, is masturbation bad for you? And every time the answer was no, you should do it for your prostate. You should be masturbating a couple times a week because it's good for your prostate. And younger me said, okay, it feels really good. I'm glad it's good for you. No! It's what's causing most of your social anxiety and depression. And it's not just the porn and masturbation that causes this. It's the lust and hypersexualization of your mind. If you look at music, TV, social media, it's all hypersexualized with almost zero education on how to build a loving connection with your partner through sex, right? Almost zero. We're left to our sex ed class and the porn we watch as adolescents, right? This is one of the biggest tactics in keeping men weak. And it may not look like it, but it is very strategically done to hypersexualize your mind. Every form of strength, my drive, my confidence, my ability to create connection with the people around me, my mental sovereignty increased once I cut this out. And it took me 19 years to figure this out. I should have known this from birth. And most people never figure it out in their lifetime, which is why most men are weak. In addition, it prevents real connection with your partner, and a connection with a partner is one of the things that the system hates the most. Number 3, drugs and alcohol. Now, if you were to create a strong society with strong men, would you glorify weed and alcohol in your society? No! Alcohol is literal poison, and weed makes you dull and anxious. Yet, these things are both legalized, and whether you like it or not, pushed on your society. As an adolescent, I drank probably 30% of my days, especially during COVID, and I smoked every day, multiple times a day, because I did not know the real effects of weed, and most people don't. It wasn't until I took it upon myself to educate myself on the effects of weed through an Andrew Huberman podcast, and from that day, I went cold turkey and quit weed, and half of my anxiety was gone. Yes, maybe while you're high, your anxiety is gone a little bit, but the reason you have anxiety outside of weed in the first place is likely because you are dependent on it. And the same thing with alcohol. When I watch a podcast on the actual effects of alcohol, it is literal poison to your brain and body. I had no idea of these effects. I showed this podcast to my grandma, and she was drinking every night a couple glasses of wine, and she stopped cold turkey because she was educated. And she's like 70-something years old. But we are led to believe that if you do not drink, you are a social outcast. Garbage! Even after I started my self-improvement journey, I still held on to this. I was still like, I need to be normal, so I need to go out drinking with my friends at least once a week, right? When I knew I actually didn't want to. I just wanted to fit in with the system. And once I freed myself from these things, fulfillment, real happiness, strength. But yet the ads you see on TV, you will still have alcohol pushed down your throat with liquor stores on every corner of every street. Ridiculous. Number 4, the media. The media is specifically built to create envy, distraction, and fear. Both the news and social media does this, right? I was in senior mood management for a while, my mom's business, and I would hear the news on, I don't watch the news myself, but I would hear the news on these seniors TV, and every channel, every story caused massive fear and anxiety. It was very disheartening to hear these things. Now, social media, I can go on about this for hours, but when I am on social media, I am envious, I lose my creativity, I am distracted, and I'm fucking up my dopamine, right? Because the things on social media is mostly just mindless entertainment, half-naked chicks, and mental programming to make you weak and depressed. And last but not least, culture. This is by far the biggest. This encompasses all of this, where the education system is not meant to free you from a life you don't want, where your brain is designed to be hypersexualized through the media, TV, music, and more, where drugs and alcohol are glorified, where the media is designed to create envy, distraction, and fear, and where if you follow this path, you will lead yourself to a career you hate with a paycheck you hate, right? That is culture. And the reason most men are weak is because we are inevitably highly affected by our culture. Now, majority of people will not understand this, so a majority of people will just play by the rules. This is why the culture is the way it is, right? And there's the macrocosm of culture, right, which is the United States, the culture we live in, and there's the microcosm, which is the culture you create within your environment, right? Your friends, your workspace, your career, the things you consume on a day-to-day basis. And the things you can't affect are that, right? We may live in a culture where this is the norm. However, the culture I've created for myself, none of this is the norm, right? And it's allowed me to break free and achieve the things I've achieved. All right, enough with the depressing shit. Let's learn how to win, right? And even though you are not supposed to win, it is easy to win. I did it in 2.5 years, and so can you. And all you have to do is flip these things. Number 1, instead of leaving your education up to the system, you must educate yourself. Once I learned about these things, I learned I had to take matters into my own hands, and so I did. I literally stopped going to class. I was at University of Iowa, and I was paying $20,000 a semester. I dropped all that shit while I was still there, and I was watching Andrew Huberman videos every day and reading books, right? And which is why I was able to have such a fast transformation. And so instead of listening to an education system that wants to keep you weak, educate yourself with people who actually want you to be strong and people who have gotten what you got, right? For health, Andrew Huberman. For discipline, me, I Am Cry, Jocko Willink. For business, Alex Ramosi, or whatever businessman has the business you want. For spirituality or religion, if you're religious, there's 1,000 gurus and preachers out there. Listen to that shit. And over time, you will be getting wisdom from the most wise people on the internet, and that will be what's inside of your mind instead of the system that wants you weak. Everything you need to be successful is on YouTube, is on Reddit, is on Safari. Right? And so you have to take matters in your own hand if you actually want to be successful in this life. In addition, read books. The wisest people in history gave their most profound and most educational words on a pieces of paper that are 100 to 200 pages for you to consume. Do you realize how valuable that is? In addition, reading will reprogram your mind from social media brain rot to actually being intelligent and able to focus on things. Number 2, desexualize your mind. You must understand that a majority of young men have not gone more than 2 weeks to a month without masturbation. I promise you, if you cut this shit out, your life will be drastically better and you will be much stronger. please listen to me on this. Number 3, kill vices and addictions. An addiction, a good definition of it, is doing something even though you know it's not good, right? And so if you know that alcohol is not good for you, which it's not, or weed is not good for you, which is not, but you do it anyways, you must realize that this is something you must get rid of, right? Because if you are addicted to something, you will never be able to be strong. Something that is right in front of your face in order to achieve the things you want is to kill the vices, brother. Kill them, right? If you stop drinking, your friends are like, oh, you're so boring right now. They're not for you. They don't want you to win. They want you to fit in their life how they want, right? Tell your friends, I'm in a period of growth right now, and if they cannot accept that, that means the culture you are surrounding yourself in is not for you, brother, if you actually want to achieve things. Number 4, delete socials. If you do not have a business, or if you do not scroll at all, which is probably none of you, right? There is no reason these things should be on your phone. Like I said, when I pull up social media is when all my creative spark and my happiness is taken away from me, right? And this is probably true for you. So you can simply fix this by deleting social media. And if you're not deleting social media, that means you should be posting content, because that is something that is going to force you to grow, right? You should not be consuming, you should be creating. Which leads me to number 5, which is create. Humans are remarkable beings, right? We have the ability to create everything we've created in the society, all the technology, all the buildings, all the art, but that is a lost art in our day and age, right? You have something you're passionate about, brother. You have something that brings you joy, that brings you fulfillment, that separates you from everyone else, right? You need to be focusing on that thing. If you have a 9 to 5 right now, you need to be optimizing your 5 to 9 or your 5 to 10 p.m., right? This is the only way you will be able to escape your job, right? If you start creating, you can do that by literally pulling out your camera and talking about things you like, right? Creating art, starting a business. You need to take the step into doing something every day that forces you to think, forces you to create. It may be a little bit uncomfortable, but uncomfortability is where growth happens. And last but not least is a positive environment, right? This took me a while to understand, but this is so important. All the people in my life are either helping me grow to the man I want to become, or I'm helping them grow into the man they want to become, right? And it's true that you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around with most, right? So that's people. A lot of guys I know are like, I want to grow up, my friends are holding me back. Brother, let them know what you're doing and ask them to come with. If they come with, awesome. You will create lifelong bonds and help each other become the man you want to be. If not, they're not for you, brother. They are not for you. So you need to find brothers that will push you towards your purpose. In addition, you need to cleanse your mental environment. Everything you see, you realize everything we see is programming us one way or another. Social media, the news, TV, music, your mind is always being programmed. So you must ensure the inputs you are putting into it are creating a positive environment in your mind. Now, I want you to take full accountability now that you know these things. If you didn't know these things and you were just living by the society that wants you to be weak, right, I have some empathy, right? But if you watch this video fully, you know that you need to do something different in order to get out, right? You see these people successful, you see these people with the woman you want, with the body you want, with the business you want. It's because they do these things. And if you actively implement these things over a period of 6 months, you will be a brand new person, I can assure you. And the good thing is, all of these things are not hard, they're just new in the beginning, right? And that's why I say it's easy to win, because my life has never been better since I actually started doing these things. So realize the things that are keeping you comfortable right now, the weed, the alcohol, the chase for woman, social media, are the same reason why you're average, brother, right? I hope you found some value from this and you will take action on it. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, leave them in the comments. In addition, I will put my Instagram in the tag. I post like 15 things on there a day that will help you stay aligned with these things, right? My main goal on there is to give you value. So if you actually want to improve, go follow me on there. Shoot me a DM with any questions. I love you, boys. Till next time.